Hi, this is Edwin Puentes and Carlos Rosales. In this presentation, we will explore 5 key principles for teaching CLD students, connecting ideas from this semester to practical strategies. This is a story that follows a CLD student adapting to a new country. The bicycle represents knowledge, which is the vehicle that enables a student to move from one place to another. The teacher, through scaffolding and emotional support, guides the child to his independence. These 5 principles are condensed ideas of Herrera and Mori and Hammond. This video is a guide for teachers to inspire and empower students, helping them overcome barriers and achieve their goals. Thank you.
Now we're going to start with our first tenet, recognizing cultural identity. Now, if you take a look at the picture, you can find a student wearing a Brazil jersey, and he's probably thinking about his school, and he might feel a little bit nervous because it might be the first time that he's going to an American school. Now, the question here is, what can teachers do to make that student feel comfortable and to make that student feel welcomed in his classroom? So this is the first tenet. So this is our first principle that we decided to talk about because it's important to recognize students' culture in order to make them feel important and valued. So every student has a story, and when teachers recognize their students' cultural identity, and also they value and creates a bridge between their students' background culture and the classroom. This connection builds confidence and a sense of belonging indeed. But the recognition of cultural identity goes beyond surface level understanding of the teacher. It also has to influence the way that lessons are planned and delivered.
Scaffolding. This picture shows a student that needs to ride a bike to go from point A to point B. Then, his teacher explained the concept of balance by showing him the need for auxiliary wheels. This illustrates how the teacher uses familiar concepts to help the students connect new cognitive processes. Herrera and Mori explain that scaffolding connects what the student already knows with new knowledge. In the picture, the student knows what a bike does and how it works, but he doesn't know how to ride it. Then, scaffolding involves incorporating instructional aids to make lesson modifications to promote understanding. For example, instead of saying the cardinal points are, you could ask, if you were Superman and there's a fire in Bolivia, in which direction would you fly? This makes learning easier to understand. Hammond explains, on the other hand, that scaffolding should include the student's culture to make learning more accessible and meaningful. For example, in a world history class, instead of saying the Nile River played a pivotal role for Egypt's development, because you could ask, what will happen if the most important river in your country disappears? So scaffolding combines support with recognition. Teachers should balance help with independence, and considering cultural background makes learning more accessible.
Moving on to our third tenet, we have developing cognition. As you can see, we have our third scene where the teacher is guiding the student to ride a bike, which is the same, which is the same exact process that any teacher do in their classrooms when empowering and guiding all their learners. Now, it is important to understand that all the teachers should avoid using a reductionist approach when having CLD learners. A good example is that the teacher has the bike and they need to make all the learners ride that bike, but they know that some students won't be able to ride that bike. But instead of using training wheels and guiding them through the process, they say, I'm going to give you a ball because that's much easier, and forget about the bike. So teachers need to maintain and keep high expectations in the classroom because these demonstrate that all the learners in the classroom have the capacity to succeed when providing the right supports. So when we adapt instruction and we make academic language and concepts accessible, we are ensuring that all our learners are receiving rich, meaningful, and culturally lessons.
Warm demander. This picture shows a student overwhelmed by the challenges of the situation. The teacher then needs to assume the role of a warm demander. Hammond defines the role of a warm demander as a balance between emotional control and meeting high expectations. Herrera and Mori also propose to provide emotional and academic support. It means that in the classroom, being a warm demander might involve encouraging students to engage in challenging activities. You can try discussions or complex projects while providing feedback. In the picture, for example, the teacher not only explains the concept of gears, but also instills confidence in the student, empowering him to embrace the challenge. A warm demander, instead of simply saying the trans-Saharan trade routes were a network that connected ancient Egypt to West Africa, the instructor might say, can you help me visualize the size of trans-Saharan route with a place you know well? This approach may foster critical thinking and a deeper understanding of scale and relevance. In conclusion, teachers should balance between challenging and support. Teacher needs to connect the context with the knowledge, and the teacher must foster deep understanding and keep high expectations.
Finally, we have our last tenet, promoting critical thinking. Now, at this point of our story, our learner has become more independent. Now he's been able to solve problems and make decisions by himself. So, promoting critical thinking in CLD students is not just about asking them to analyze and evaluate information. It is also about to equipping them with the skills to navigate complex ideas with valuing their own knowledge at the same time. And thus, giving us a result, making connections between concepts to then applying them to real world contexts. So effective educators, we always create opportunities for the CLD learners to engage in high order thinking activities. Now, this also involves providing culturally relevant tasks that challenge the students to interpret, compare, and synthesize information while connecting it with their own lived experiences. Moreover, promoting critical thinking also goes hand in hand with developing academic language proficiency. So, as they are practicing that sophisticated language, use that builds their calp, if we remember in the chapter, one of the chapters that we learned, which is the cognitive academic language proficiency. So, this integration of language and cognitive skill development ensures that CLD learners are not only gaining knowledge, but also learning how to apply it effectively. In conclusion, our five tenets of CLD teaching: recognizing cultural identity, providing scaffolding, developing cognition, being a warm demander, and promoting critical thinking represent a holistic approach to supporting the success of culturally and linguistically diverse learners. Each tenet highlights the importance of understanding students as individuals, fostering their academic and personal growth, and providing the tools they need to thrive in a multicultural and multilingual world. Our comic illustration emphasizes that effective teaching is a collaborative journey between students and educators, where both parties learn and grow together. By implementing these tenets, teachers can create classrooms where students feel valued and supported and empowered to meet high expectations. Ultimately, this approach helps CLD learners not only achieve academic success, but also develop the confidence and skills necessary to navigate the complexities of our global society. Thank you very much.